folks, happy Tuesday. Another beautiful day here in California. We're here at Money Truth Moments with our very own Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How you doing?
I am awesome. Good to see you. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. God bless America and happy Tuesday morning.
Right back at you. Folks, thank you for joining us this morning. Hey, we apologize for last week having a little bit of technical difficulties, but I'm glad you guys checked in. We're ready to go this week. We're launching this new series on married couples and money. So you want to definitely share this out with your friends, family, share our stream. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. There is a wealth of resources also on our website, which we'll get to a little bit later, as well as another surprise as well that's coming up. So what do you say we get started, Judy? We got a great subject today, great topic, and I don't want to run out of time because this is huge.
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, so right out of the gate, let's talk about what money decisions should married couples make together.
Ooh. Well, there are some decisions that don't need to be made together, but I think there are some important ones that should. So let's say you're thinking about marrying someone and you have your idea of what it looks like to have savings. Like if you're okay with $20 in the bank, that's enough. Maybe you're marrying someone that really needs to have several months of basic expenses there, like $10,000, $20,000 in the bank to feel like you're saving. You got to work those things through. You've got to have a conversation. Maybe there's a compromise. Maybe you have separate bank accounts when it comes to cash reserves and cash flows. And that all can be worked out. There's no one way to do it. I think other things that you should talk about are how you do your expenses. So let's say in your mind, every year you want to have a vacation. For you, a vacation, you don't spend more than $500. You go camping, throw a tent in the back of the truck and away you go. Well, you might be marrying somebody that likes to fly first class and likes to go to other states or other countries. And that's what a vacation is. You know, working out decisions like that early is going to save a lot of marital stress and bring marital harmony. Just getting in alignment on some of the values around how money is allocated, what it looks like to save, what it looks like to spend money. Obviously, when you're putting together two lives, you have different values, different experiences around money, different ways that you did it at your house growing up. And so it's funny how we grow up seeing things done a certain way, or maybe not even actively participating, but there's kind of a perception of how you think things went. And you just kind of automatically do it that way. Like that's how everybody does it. But you don't realize there's so many other ways to do life and to do money. And so having really good conversations around those things, if there's any fear or shame or intimidation around finances for either in the couple, I think it's really important to outline some of those conversation, talking points, and sit down with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and just go through it. I had some clients that had part of their date night. They had a lot of conflict around money for these reasons. They just had different ideas. And when they would talk about it, there was all this emotion around money conversations. And so they decided to take all the stress out of the money conversations during the week. And on their date night, the first 10 minutes they would set aside to just talk about money. What do we need to know about cash flow, about income, a bonus you got at work, how much you put in your 401k, just money stuff. Did you pay the insurance premium, things like that? And they did that the first 10 minutes every week at their date night until they got this comfortable feeling to come along with their money conversations. And it did wonders for their marriage. So there's a lot of things that probably should be talked about, but I think the first thing is make a list. And then just go through, where did those ideas come from? How did my parents teach me or not teach me about money concepts? And, if there's any emotion around it, where does that come from? And try to get underneath it. I think that would help any couple trying to blend their financial lives together, do it more gracefully.
That helps totally.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about also couples, and I know you've seen this throughout your career, couples that, when they're coming into a marriage, they want to combine everything together, checking accounts and all that. There's other couples that want to keep things completely separate. I know that there's not there's no real set right way or wrong way to do that, but maybe you can share with us some of the little pros and cons of both of those situations.
Yeah. Well, some couples have been on their own for a while. Not everybody gets married at 18 or 21 or 25 anymore. And so you have a certain way that you do money, and you kind of get into routine, and you pay it here and save it there and spend it over here. And so when you're blending that, I think it's great to have these conversations and keep communication open, but also just keep your mind open. Maybe there is another way. Maybe there's a better way. In our marriage, we went back and forth probably for 10 years. I did the money, he did the money. I did the money, he did the money, because we didn't know what we were doing. And we'd mess up, and then, okay, I'll do it. And then mess up, okay, you do it, until we got into routine. And what really works well for us is we have some accounts that are together and some accounts that aren't together. And for some people, it might be, for us, it's about convenience because we have so much going on in our lives at this point. But it might be more about autonomy. Sometimes money can be used as a weapon, among other things. It can be used to control. It can be used to manipulate. And so if you each have your own account that nobody's going to question, maybe every month you put so much in there. And if you want to go get your hair done, great. If you want to go golfing, great. If you want to go out with the boys, fine. It's the money that nobody has to answer to. And for some people, they just want to have that autonomy and that privacy. Maybe you want to do a surprise birthday gift for your spouse or for somebody. And you don't have to answer to what's in there. So that might be something, as long as you both agree that you're doing it and it's not like a secret, or a communication problem. Just, hey, every month, why don't you put this much in your account? I'll put this much in my account, and then we can do whatever we want with it. We can always put it back together, but it gives us autonomy and privacy, kind of on the side. So that's one thing. I think the pro to that is that you have that privacy and you have that freedom. The con is that it might be uncomfortable to have someone have a secret from you or not know where it is, or maybe we agreed to this amount goes in every month, but now this amount's in there. And what are you really doing with that money, right? So the downside could be, I'd rather have full transparency, and you wouldn't with a system like that. Other couples, everything is shared, and one spouse does all the money, all the expenses. It's funny, historically, it's like the wife, and statistically, I guess, it's the wife that spends the money and does the daily expenses, and the husband doesn't. It's not true of everyone anymore, but it's funny how many spouses that are, doing things the traditional way, and the husband has no clue what their budget is. Or what it costs, the water bill. I haven't seen a water bill in 40 years, like they have no idea what groceries cost or anything. I think that's just kind of sweet, kind of cute. And so for some people, one spouse will do all the money. Sometimes it's the husband that is making all of the expenses, and the wife has no clue where the accounts are or what's in it. I don't recommend that, by the way. I think both spouses should know a lot about where the money is and what it's doing and what it's for. Because life doesn't always look forever like it does right now, and things happen with our health, with our spouses. When our lives end, and if everybody doesn't know what's where, that can be really traumatic for the surviving spouse, to have to get up to speed with all that stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point, because I've seen family members. I've seen friends who are up there in age that their spouse, just like you described, their spouse is the one taking care of the bills and all that, and all of a sudden they're gone, and it's like, where do we bank? Where do we do this? Where do I pay this? And where do I do that? And it is pretty tragic to kind of see somebody go through that without any planning or that lack of communication you're mentioning too. I think that's very important. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Folks, thank you for joining us this morning. We are here in Money Truth Moments. We are discussing married couples and money. We're currently talking about what money decisions should be married couples make together. If you have not followed Judy yet, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. Shortly, we're going to be talking about a little bit more of those resources that are available for married couples, for single folks, all of the above, on her website as well too. So stay tuned for that a little bit later in the show. But I want to keep talking about money decisions that married couples should make together, right? So we talked about married couples having different accounts, having joint accounts, some of the pros, some of the cons. I also want to talk about now, let's put kids in the mix, right?
Mhm.
So when we're talking about decisions regarding money, where do we fit the kids right in, whether they're little or a little bit older? What would be the best practice, I guess, is what I'm looking for that.
Yeah, I love that question. I think the sooner the better when we're talking about involving kids and money. That's how they learn. Right. It's sad when I come across people that didn't learn about money until after college, when they finally got their first apartment. It's like, uh-oh, I have no idea how to spend it or how to save it or allocating money or, I can earn it. I learned how to, get a good job and earn it. But what do I do with it now? How do I keep it? How do I minimize my taxes and optimize my growth accounts? And all that takes some wisdom. It takes some experience. It takes a resource. And some parents do a really good job with their kids when they're small, involving them in shopping and talking about expenses and, teaching them more than money doesn't grow on trees,
Right.
they actually give them work to do where they can earn their money. And then from the money they earn, they get to practice spending. And that's the thing. The sooner that we learn how to spend money and allocate expenses, the better. There are so many people that they can get a lot of money. Like some people make lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, millions a year, but they don't know how to allocate it once they get it. They don't know how to manage it and keep it from poofing. That's a legal term I learned in law school, right? Poof. You know what it means? It's just like, where did it go? Holes in my pockets. But it's just amazing how much impact we can have with our children, even when they're small. Explaining to them when the water bill comes and the electricity bill comes, turning off the lights to save power. There's a reason for that. Usually financial. I mean, it also we're a little more green doing that. But talk about those things. Talk about when we go on a vacation, if they have a child, right? They have their own money and they can decide which sunscreen to buy. They can decide if they want to, have a toy to take on the airplane, which toy to buy or which activity book, to buy. How much does it cost? I've got $4. If I have two books that are $2, I could buy two of them. If I buy one book that's $4, I only get the one, right? So, and let them choose, let them practice spending. So adults that say, I can't manage my money, it disappears on me. My savings, like I would save a whole lot if I had it. I just never have enough at the end of the month. That's not a savings problem. That's a spending problem. That's someone that needs more practice spending. And that's a gift we can give our kids. Let them practice spending money even when they're small, when they're still in school.
It's also, I think, as parents, we don't really think about this just because of the lack of time, and I think that also comes into play where I see that we kind of do a disservice to our kids, like you're talking about, getting them involved that young, until problems start happening, credit cards are out of control, and then what? Trying to get them out of that hole, and I think education is key, especially starting them off really young, like the examples you're just giving us as well too. So I appreciate you sharing that. Folks, we are here at Money Truth Moments. We're here every Tuesday at 8 a.m. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. I think now it's a good segue to really talk a little bit about your website. Let's share with folks some of the resources that are available. And folks, if you're listening, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. A lot of the stuff on our resources are free. So take advantage of it. If you don't, then you're really doing a disservice to yourself. So talk about your website, talk about some of those resources, Judy.
Yeah, the free stuff. Everybody loves free stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we love that. We love that. Yeah. So judycopenbarger.com, there's a little green button, more about truth, where you can learn about money, truth, and life. So Money, Truth, and Life is not only a book, a best-selling book. It's really, really done well. A lot of people get so much out of that about the pillars of money, but there's also on that green button access to the online mastery program, Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And what that does is take you to a course, all-encompassing course about small business and personal finance, everything you need to know about all the pillars. So we're talking a little bit about savings and about cash flow and cash reserves here. That's one category, but there are others. There's one that talks all about all the insurances in the world and which ones might apply to you and what kind. When it comes to like life insurance, talk about confusing, right? And usually you get your information from someone that wants to sell you something. But there's all kinds of life insurance. It could be temporary, it could be permanent. They're used for different things. There's different kinds of ways the cash value might go, or maybe no cash value at all. Some life insurances let you use the money even while you're living, which I think is fantastic. So when you die, there's a death benefit. But if you're living and something happens to your health, and now you are in a wheelchair, or now you need some alternative medicine not covered by insurance, or now you need to put a ramp on your front door or get a van, that will allow a wheelchair to get in there. There are ways that you can use your money while you're still living. So, and there's all kinds of insurance, what to look for in auto insurance, what to look for in homeowners insurance, tort liability, business protection, all of that. So that's the insurance classes. And then there's legal and legacy. What's the difference between a will and a trust? How many kinds of trusts are there, and what kind should I be thinking about? Do I have the right stuff at my house? When should I think about even doing that if I have little kids, or maybe I don't have kids yet, or not plan on having kids? Mm-hmm. So how could I use those documents? What kind should I be looking at? Sometimes we don't even know enough to know what questions to ask. Right. And this course is designed for you to know enough to know that something needs to be fixed. Something needs to be put in place. I need to do something more or better or different. And the questions to ask, it puts you on the right path. There's a whole several classes on taxation. There's a whole course on taxation. So all the kinds of taxes that impact you. We usually think about sales tax and we think about income tax. We don't like that one, right? And it impacts us at least once a year. But there are so many there are hundreds of taxes that impact you every single day. You just don't see them. So if you know they're there, and there are ways to minimize or totally mitigate those taxes, wouldn't you? It's more in your pocket for growth, for achieving your goals. So there's a whole course on that. I mean, there's just courses on investments, the bears and the bulls, and what's the difference between a stock and a mutual fund, or an ETF and a bond. What should I be doing at my house? What should I allocate in my 401k or in my growth account for retirement, or whatever it is? So all of that is in the course. It's done in video format, and you can watch one class at a time. And right now, for 7 days, you can watch all the classes you want for free. The subscription is just on hold. So if you wanted to just take a couple of classes, you could go in there and not pay at all. Also, on Judy Copenbarger, I didn't mean to stop, but on judycopenbarger.com, there are all kinds of videos there and articles that can help you learn about all kinds of personal financial issues. And on YouTube, there are courses on everything from how interest works, how bonds work, how the economy works. When you buy a car or lease a car, what's better? Pros and cons to that. Anything you can think of that you have a question about with real estate or business or finances or investments, tax, they're all answered in the YouTube collection under my name, just Judy Copenbarger on YouTube. But I recommend that if you're looking for just access to the good stuff, that you start with judycopenbarger.com and get into that course.
Excellent. And folks, remember, the keyword here is free, and there is a lot of content. You can spend hours on it at your own leisure. So again, you'll do a disservice to yourself if you guys don't take advantage of that. So thank you guys for joining us this morning. I know we're almost towards the tail end of our show, but we appreciate you guys being here. If you didn't catch the beginning of the show, please watch the replay, share it with your family and friends, because we are talking about married couples and money. It's a huge, huge subject. And, some couples are all over the place. Some are getting started. Some already been in the trenches with it. And some are getting ready to kind of retire as well, too, which kind of leads me to my next question. And we're trying to follow this along the path of, we talked about being married. We talked about how to deal with separate accounts, joint accounts, the pros and cons. So this is stuff that, folks, if you're just joining us, you need to go back at the beginning of the show and watch some of this. So let's talk about, we've talked about being married. We talked about throwing kids in the mix, but let's move on a little bit further into looking at the retirement years, right? Maybe 5-10 years before I plan to retire. What are some things that what kind of decisions should we be making regarding money as a married couple?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest decisions is when. When do we want to hang it up? Because some people think when they get to that point where they're going to stop working for their money and do something else, they think it's all about having enough money. But from my experience, many people get there and it's not about the money. They've got plenty of money, with or without work, they're going to be fine for all their goals and all their income and everything they need. But they get to that point and it's more about, what am I going to do now? My identity has been wrapped up in my career, and my people in my life are in my career, and my purpose in life is in my career. Who am I going to be if I'm not going to work, or if I sell my business? It's an interesting phenomenon. And with my clients, I'll work about 5 years before that time they think they're going to retire, to get them mentally ready, not just financially ready. I mean, we're doing that, but to get them mentally ready for, what are we going to do now? How are we going to fill our days? Who do we want in our life? Because now we get to choose, right? It's a big transition for some people. And a lot of my clients will retire. They do the whole plan. They do it on time. They have the party, blow the horns and do the whole thing. And then they end up consulting or doing more work after, maybe not full time, but they still need that purposefulness. And so they'll transition with some part-time work or consulting for a while, and then transition out into this new normal where every day you get to pick, what you're going to do. But there's got to be purpose. So I think that's even more important. And as a couple, more important than the finances, because just cold turkey, going from working all the time to not working, can be devastating. So, but I think, your question was more about the finances. I know, for a couple to be really clear financially in how much they need to have for ongoing income. And you've got to plan for a long time. In our firm, we plan to age 100. Statistically, I don't know what the numbers are now, but it's very high probability that at least one of a couple will live well into the 90s nowadays. And when we're working with younger couples, it's likely that both of them will live into their 90s. Crazy. Like, our kids are going to have way more lifespan expected than we do. So pretty interesting phenomenon to think about, if I'm not working full time for 40 years, where's that money going to come from? Well, I have enough to sustain, right? When in 40 years, you're going to need a couple new cars, or replacement cars. Probably you're going to need a new roof on the house, some maintenance, on your plumbing,
Right.
and all kinds of plumbing issues, right? There's going to be money, not just your ongoing monthly expenses. There might be a trip or two. There might be things you want to do with or for your family. Where's that money going to come from? Do we have enough for the money to outgrow our lives, rather than our lives, outlasting the money? So is it sustainable? I'm always looking for sustainability. So those are some things to think about. And then, what kind of a lifestyle do we want as a couple? What will we be doing? Will we be serving other people? Will we be really engaged in our families, our grandkids and great grandkids? Will we be traveling? Will we be just, home gardening? What are we going to do? And what kind of finances are we going to need for those common goals and for those independent goals? So it takes a little planning.
No, that's excellent. I know we're coming close to the end of the show, but I want to squeeze in one more question. And I know we've kind of talked about, from beginning, married couples, kids, retirement now. But one important question that I want to make sure we have at least a couple of minutes for you to talk about is, if you're engaged or planning on getting married, what are some key steps to kind of go through this path and start off right before I don't want to say pull the trigger, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah. Before you walk down the aisle, what are maybe some best practices, a couple of them, because I know we're short on time.
Yeah, I think just to get some alignment and some communication in the 5 areas. So earning, spending, saving, managing, and giving money. So if we're going to be charitable as a couple, as we're coming together, I like to give a lot of money away. You would rather give your time. What's going to be comfortable for us as a couple in terms of giving and being, charitable? Saving, for one, I think I mentioned earlier, one of you might think savings is just, a couple $1,000s in the bank. The other one might feel better with 20 or 50. Like, what if one of us wasn't working for 6 months? Mm-hmm. All of those things, expenses, how much are we going to spend, each year on vacations? How much are we going to spend on our kids? Are we going to pay for college for them or make them, do it on their own like we did, right? So there are different ways to pull your values together in your common goal setting. And the sooner you do that, especially if you're getting ready to get married, the sooner you get those common goals and those common attitudes around those basic 5 areas of money management, the better.
Excellent. And I appreciate you sharing that. Folks, thank you for joining us. And right now, it's our favorite time of the show, which is... it's our Money Truth Challenge. Yes. All right.
Here's your challenge. We just talked about it. We were talking in the context of honeymooners or engaged couples, but maybe you've been married 20, 30, 40, 50 years and you've never had this conversation. Your challenge is to have the conversation with a pen and paper, both of you if you're married, more of you if you have a blended household and you've got all kinds of people making financial decisions, maybe aunties in there, maybe uncles in there, grandma, grandpa, you do it all together. Everybody who makes the decisions come together and each of you write down 5 things. The most important decision or conversation you need to have in 5 different areas. So one of them is the meaning for you of earning money. What does it mean to earn money? How much? Is it enough? Is it not enough? Is it something we need to work on? Is there something we need to sell to get some cash flow? What do we need to do in the area of earning? The second one is in the area of spending. Are we spending okay? Is our spending plan working? Are we sticking with it? Are we spending too much? Should we be spending more? Maybe we're saving too much and really not enjoying life. So each of you that are making decisions in your household, write down one thing that we could do better in the area of spending. And the third one is saving. How much should we save? Should we save more? Do we need to belt tighten a little bit and put more away for these last few years before we retire? What do we need to do in terms of allocating savings for our future goals and retirement down the road? And then the next one is management. Is there something we should do better to protect our money? Do we need to get a will in place? Do we need to get a trust in place? Do we have the right insurances? What if something happened? What if we got sued? What if we had a fire? What if we had a bad car accident? Are we protected adequately so we don't risk everything that we've grown if there is one of these life events? And then finally, giving. Are we giving the way we want to give? What does it mean to me to give? What does it mean to you to give? Is there something we could do more, better, or different in the area of giving? So earning, spending, saving, managing, giving. So each of you write down one conversation you want to have or one bullet point in each of those areas, what it means to do that properly. And then you can come together and have that conversation. That's your challenge.
That's a great challenge, folks. Make sure that you do take this very serious. If you want to share with us also, please send us a message. We'd love to share some of the feedback as well, too, on the show. Judy, thanks so much for a great conversation, a lot of great wisdom regarding married couples and money. If you're just joining us, follow Judy at judycopenbarger.com. But more importantly, watch this episode because I know that you know somebody or even yourself that can learn a lot of the wisdom that Judy was able to share with us this morning. Remember, we're here every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m., Money Truth Moments with Judy Copenbarger. Any parting words, Judy?
No, make it a great week. And it's my pleasure to be with you as always, Carlos.
All right. Take care, you guys. We'll see you guys next week.